Imagine a time thousands of years past when the Earth was a very different place. The planet was warmer then. Tropical forests covered much of Eden, the seas were vast and teeming with life, but this world was about to change. A cataclysmic event was about to unfold. The rains began slowly at first, then intensified to a level not seen prior nor since. They fell relentlessly day and night. Rivers turned into raging torrents, lakes became inland seas. The waters rose higher and higher until they swallowed up even the highest mountains. The deluge was upon the earth. The once familiar world was gone, submerged beneath a global ocean. There was no longer any evidence of the past, as not even the tallest mountains could be seen above the watery abyss. The flood lasted for less than a month and a half, and yet it reshaped the planet. Life, as it was known, was swept away. The earth was a blank slate, ready for a new beginning. A mere 40 days and nights passed before the rains finally ceased. The clouds parted and the sun broke through. The floodwaters began to recede, slowly at first, then more rapidly. The earth, it seemed, was thirsty. The water flowed back into the great basins, forming new seas and oceans. It carved deep valleys and canyons into the land. The receding waters revealed a transformed planet. The continents were reshaped. Mountains were thrust up. The earth was preparing for a new time, and time of ice. The water didn't just disappear. Much of it seeped into the earth itself, drawn down into the porous rock. It filled vast underground reservoirs, aquifers that would one day quench the thirst of future civilizations. As the floodwaters receded, the planet began to cool. Ice caps formed at the north and south poles, at first small and insignificant, but they began to grow. They spread outward from the poles, reaching towards the equator. The ice was a crushing thing, constantly moving, grinding and reshaping the land. It carved out valleys and lakes, it pushed up hills and mountains. The earth was being sculpted by a new force, the force of miles of ice. The ice age had begun. It was a time of great change, a time of hardship, a time almost forgotten, but for the stories told that would one day be written. The growing ice sheets were massive, some reaching miles thick. Their weight pressed down on the earth with unimaginable force. The pressure was so great that it affected the very structure of the planet. Deep beneath the ice, the Earth's mantle, the layer of hot, molten rock beneath the crust began to heat up. The heat rose towards the surface, melting rock and creating massive flows of lava. Volcanoes erupted, spewing ash and gas into the atmosphere. The ice and the fire, two opposing forces, were reshaping the planet. The Earth was a dynamic, ever-changing world, a world in the grip of massive ice sheets. Section 5, Beneath the Ice. The ice sheets were not just a lifeless mass of frozen water. Beneath the surface, hidden from view, a world of wonder and activity existed. Rivers of meltwater flowed within the ice, carving tunnels and caverns. As the ice moved, it acted like a giant grinding wheel. It picked up rocks and boulders, crushing them into smaller and smaller pieces. The ice ground the rocks into gravel, sand, and silt, separating out the different minerals and metals. The grinding action of the ice was a crucial step in the formation of valuable mineral deposits. Gold, being heavier than other minerals, was often concentrated in certain areas, waiting to be discovered by future prospectors. Section 6. Rivers of Ice. The ice sheets were constantly on the move, flowing slowly but relentlessly across the landscape. They carved out deep valleys which filled with meltwater, creating vast rivers and lakes beneath the ice. These subglacial rivers and lakes were ever moving, washing across and displacing the molten metals hidden in the dark depths. At the edge of the ice sheets, meltwater poured out, forming braided rivers that flowed across the landscape. These rivers carried with them the debris of the Ice Age, gravel, sand and silt, as well as the precious metals that had been liberated from the rocks. The rivers deposited their load of sediment in fan-shaped formations known as alluvial fans. These fans would become prime locations for future gold discoveries. Section 7. The Great Thaw. Several hundred years passed. The climate began to warm once more. The ice sheets, which had once seemed eternal, began to melt and retreat. As the great thaw began, the meltwater returned to the oceans, raising sea levels once again. The land rebounded as the weight of the ice lifted. The retreating ice revealed a transformed landscape. Valleys were carved deep into the earth. Mountains were pushed upwards and sculpted by the ice. Vast plains and ancient riverbeds were covered in glacial debris. The frozen areas of Eden saw life return. Section 8. A new landscape. With the retreat of the ice, plants and animals returned to the land. Forests grew tall, their roots digging deep into the soil. Animals that had sought refuge in warmer regions migrated back, colonizing the newly exposed landscapes. Rivers, once swollen with meltwater, shrank, ever changing their course, carving new paths through the land. They cut down through the layers of sediment deposited during the ice flow, exposing the riches that lay beneath. The ice had left its mark on the planet, but life had returned as vibrant and diverse than ever before. The stage was set for the human to return north. Some of them would one day discover the treasures that the ice had left behind. Section 9. Gold Rush. Over time it became a common sight to see a lone prospector at a riverbank, his pan at the ready. And still more common as many heard tales of gold being found, gold that had been washed down from the mountains by the rivers of the Ice Age. A lone prospector dipping his pan into the river, swirling the water and gravel, swears he can feel the weight of the gold settling to the bottom. He carefully lifts the pan, his heart pounding with anticipation. There at the bottom of the pan, gleaming in the sunlight, were nuggets of gold. The prospector smiles. The time of the ice, which had seemed like a time of destruction, had left behind a gift, a treasure that would bring prosperity and change the course of human history.